telling me what shirts to wear, what ties to wear.
Sean, I was actually going to say, tonight I'm looking, it's a very nice, flattering ice blue, because, do you have blue eyes? I can't even remember if you have blue.
No, they're hazel.
Hazel, I have hazel.
They're
okay,
squinty, you can't tell.
But it looks very nice. It's ice blue with kind of a purpley blue. If the monitor
now,
is correct,
let's just reverse this. I start talking about your fashion, I'm dead. It's over.
I'm kind of like doing an Alexander Hamilton thing tonight, I've decided. I'm going to burst out into room where it happens.
Oh, good. Why we're friends, I don't know.
I don't know, but I adore you. So great show tonight,
Have a great
as
show.
always. All right. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from a very busy Washington tonight. What else would it be? The president is taking forceful aim at the special counsel investigation, claiming that Mueller's witness tactics end up being pure McCarthyism. Joe DeGeneva is here to tell us why he thinks Mueller's team members can be sanctioned. Plus, an anti-Trump sitcom is canceled. We predicted it. And singer Celine Dion is pushing a rather unconventional clothing line for children. Why it all matters? Well, Raymond Arroyo will break it all down. He's here. Details in Seen and Unseen. And by the way, who are the hidden figures inside the country, our country, helping to guide and organize the caravans to our southern border? An Ingraham Angle multi-part investigation. We have another installment tonight. But first, Obama's failed reset. That's the focus of tonight's Angle. The Obamas left the White House almost 2 years ago. Can you believe it? But they don't want you to forget how awesome they were. Are. Well, with Michelle's current rock star-like book tour, the pair's global speechifying, and their deep ties to Hollywood celebs, they're hard to avoid. Last night, Barack Obama visited the Baker Institute in Houston, Texas, and he came off as a man who is obsessed with himself and obsessed with taking credit for another guy's, Trump's, success.
And by the way, American energy production, you wouldn't always know it, but it went up every year I was president. And that whole suddenly America's like the biggest oil producer and the biggest guy. That was me, people. I just want you to. Sometimes you go to Wall Street and folks will be grumbling about anti-business. I said, have you checked where your stocks were when I came into office and where they are now? What are you talking? What are you complaining about? Just say thank you, please.
No, thank you. Obama's efforts at legacy building notwithstanding, the difference between the two presidents' economic records is stark. Andy Pudster, fast food exec and one-time Trump labor secretary nominee, wrote a fantastic piece in yesterday's Wall Street Journal. He compared the end of the Obama economy with the beginning of the Trump economy. Check this out. GDP growth staggered along at 1.5% in Mr. Obama's final 6 full quarters in office. But growth doubled to 3% during Mr. Trump's first 6 full quarters. The increase in jobs openings over Mr. Trump's first 21 months has averaged an impressive 75,000 a month. But over Mr. Obama's last 20 months in office, the number of job openings increased an average of 900 a month. Ooh. Well, during Mr. Obama's last 21 months, the number of employed Americans increased, not bad, an average of 157,000 a month. But under Mr. Trump, the increase has accelerated to 214,000 a month, a whopping 36% improvement. Unbelievable. Well, on top of that, we all know other facts, right? There have been record low African-American, Latino unemployment, credible rise in small business applications, and totally jacked up consumer confidence. You get the point. Obama's pathetic attempt to take credit for the fruits of his successor's policies, while Obama criticizes most of those very same policies, it's just patently ridiculous. And that's not the only thing, by the way, that doesn't wash in Obama land.
Michelle and I and our girls, we came out intact. And what I mean by that is that the core values that we brought into the office, pretty homespun values, tell the truth and try to see the other person's point of view and treat people kindly and with respect.
With respect, excuse me if I laugh, like all the respect his administration and he himself showed for any Obama critic?
Let me just make this point, John, because we're not campaigning anymore. The election's over. They have suspicions about whether government should make sure that kids in poverty are getting enough to eat. Think about how much better off our country would be if Republican politicians hadn't spent years precisely trying to scare voters.
That's all Republicans did. That was the nice stuff he said, by the way. And as far as his homespun values that he bragged about last night, values like, I don't know, telling the truth.
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
And Solyndra is going to be a really good investment. $500 million down the tubes. Well, Obama is spending his non-retirement pining away, let's face it, for that bygone era when liberals dominated all media platforms.
You know, whether it was Cronkite or Brinkley or what have you, there was a common set of facts, a baseline around which both parties had to adapt and respond to. And by the time I take office, what you increasingly have is a media environment in which, if you are a Fox News viewer, you have an entirely different reality than if you are a New York Times reader.
Oh, yeah, it is entirely different. We see the world as it is, while the New York Times and certain other networks sell their own version of reality. And oftentimes that version of reality is one where all those flyover people in the middle of the country, they kind of just fade away to be replaced by hipper, cooler progressives and maybe some socialist urbanites. Well, some of us on talk radio, and the president despises talk radio, we actually speak with the so-called deplorables every day. We actually saw Trump's victory coming, while the so-called erudites said, who live and die by every headline on the old gray lady, were confident right up until the end that Hillary Clinton was going to win. But the real reason Obama detests Fox, talk radio, pretty much any conservative website, is because he prefers life kind of the way it was or is today on college campuses. Well, you know, where diversity of thought is largely non-existent and where violators of vague community standards are punished or shunned. And meanwhile, where sycophants and toadies, certain liberal ideals or people, enjoy special privileges and nonstop accolades from professors for their courage and their insight. Well, guess what? Millions of Americans are actually glad. They either didn't even go to university or they're glad that they live now in something called the real world. They actually graduated, and they prefer news sources and commentary where their own values are not under constant assault and ridicule by the so-called elites. But Barack Obama kind of has contempt for a lot of those values, at least a lot of the values you and I hold dear, and he doesn't have all that much respect for any American who doesn't think like he does. Now, this line last night made it clear he hasn't learned much of anything since his snide, bitter clinger comments.
Adapt quickly enough to the fact that there were people being left behind and that frustrations were going to flare up. In those environments, you then start getting a different kind of politics. You start getting a politics based on a nationalism that's not pride in country, but hatred for somebody on the other side of the border.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. Anyone who supported Donald Trump, especially his immigration policy, border enforcement, and the like, is basically a racist, xenophobic, bigot, or maybe you're just run-of-the-mill stupid hick. He has an interesting way of kind of saying, he doesn't come out and say it, but that's, you don't be Einstein to read between the lines there. And at bottom, it's a negative and cynical view of about half of the American population currently. And you know, when you think about that dark, cynical view of America, you know what it reminds me of?
The Government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America? No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America that's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human.
I don't think that my church is actually particularly controversial. It's a member of the United Church of Christ.
No, none of it's controversial. Well, I guess you can take the man out of Reverend Wright's church, but you can't take Jeremiah Wright's mindset sometimes out of the man. Beneath all the polish and the smooth talk and the kind of side jokes, Obama still can't see that there are substantive reasons why not everyone loves him. Maybe not as much as people like Beyonce and Jay-Z do. And that's the angle. Here to react, Victor Davis Hanson, senior fellow at Stanford University's Hoover Institution and author of the forthcoming book, The Case for Trump, Howard Kurtz, host of Media Buzz, and Austin Goolsbee, former economic advisor to President Obama. So, Victor, let me start with you. Why does President Obama, he feels like has to always come out and try to rebrand his presidency? It seems really insecure. They always kind of claim, oh, Donald Trump's insecure. I mean, it seems like it's very insecure to kind of say, well, I'm the one who got all the oil stuff going, and I'm the one who did the... when the facts just, frankly, are not there in comparing the two economic records, as you see Pudsiter do in the Journal yesterday.
Yeah, I think there's 2 points. One is the progressive mindset sees politics as a 360-degree, 24/7 operation or job. So the last day in office is the first day of another progressive career. We saw that with Jimmy Carter. Remember, he always had to comment and editorialize and travel when Reagan was president. During the 2 Bush's presidencies, Al Gore and Bill Clinton were quite active in criticism. And Obama's doing the same thing. For them, it's a nonstop activity. And, you know, they need to get a ranch. He should go to Hawaii and buy a farm and focus on Netflix. That's what Reagan went up to the ranch. W went to the ranch and let his predecessor be. And it's kind of an irony that we have an antithetical presidencies back to back, a progressive and a starkly conservative, and we need to let history adjudicate. You brought up facts, but the prior administration prognosticated that you need a magic wand to carry off what Trump promised, and Paul Krugman said the stock market was going to tank, and Barack Obama said you can't drill your way out of oil shortages, and Larry Summers, I think, said 3% GDP.
That was a fantasy. No, it was all a fantasy. It was all a fantasy. It was never going to happen. Trump came in
and said, no,
never
I'm going to deregulate.
Yeah.
I'm going to do all these things. Yeah, and so let history decide. We're only 18 months into the administration. You cited the facts. Obama should stop relitigating the past and be empirical.
Let it play out.
And let history decide.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see in another 2 years. Yeah. I mean, maybe all this will go away. I certainly hope it doesn't. Howie, I want to focus on the media aspect of all this. It really is quite something, because a lot of the things they accuse President Trump of, thin-skinned, insecure, narcissist, boasting. I mean, the finger's always pointed back at you, I think the Buddha said. And it seems like when you watch Obama yesterday, he's cool, he's kind of back in the chair, and he's fun and so. But it seems like a lot of that going on here.
Barack Obama got the most gushing press since George Washington, and clearly he misses it, and he misses the spotlight. But he's got to give a rest to this golden oldie about Fox News. That record is so scratched up from being played so many times. He completely ignores the fact that there are all these liberal media outlets that make Trump bashing a 24/7 business model. Now, I'll give him a little more slack than you do, because all ex-presidents talk up what they think is good about their record. But a lot of it is the indirect shots at Donald Trump. He doesn't mention Trump's name since the midterm elections.
But come on, it's
but we all know when he talks about, well, you know, nobody near me was indicted. He's talking Paul Manafort. He's talking Mike Flynn. You know, this is the way he is trying, I think, to make himself look better at his successor's expense.
Why is offending half of the population a good strategy for expanding his influence into 2020, for instance? I mean, it's the same thing they always do. It's what Hillary did with the deplorables. He got away with it with the bitter Klinger thing because he was so good as a politician. But there are not many Obamas who are going to come around and be an Obama-type person. But Fox, talk radio, like they have pretty much everything. They have the universities, they have most of the churches, they have most media outlets still today, all newspapers for the most part, and that's still not good enough. That's what's stunning to me.
Right. Well, I think that, Barack Obama's view of the world is simply that where he still can't believe that Donald Trump won the election.
He can't believe that all people don't love him, which is what they accuse Trump of. Trump gets mad if you slight him. If you criticize him even slightly, Trump reminds you of it.
Right, but he's probably feeling...
But that's what Obama does.
He's probably feeling slightly emboldened by the fact that the Democrats took the House, and he's saying, well, aha, now they're going to see that I was better than they remember.
Yeah, we'll see. Austin, this is what the president said, speaking of the no indictments. He made this comment. Let's watch.
Not only did I not get indicted, nobody in my administration got indicted, which, by the way, was the only administration in modern history that can be said about. In fact, nobody came close to being indicted, partly because the people who joined us were there for the right reasons.
Oh, really? I mean, let's go through the list. I mean, short of indictments, Austin, Fast and Furious, IRS scandal, Solyndra, we blew $500 million taxpayers' money. Benghazi, we have a dead U.S. ambassador. Susan Rice went out there and said it was a tape that caused the deaths. The VA scandal, a disaster. Tens of thousands of veterans denied care. Shinseki resigns in disgrace. Oh, of course, we had the OPM hack by the Chinese, which was a nightmare. And we could go on and on and on. So, yeah, no one was indicted. Maybe that's more, maybe that's more related to the fact that we had Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder in a Justice Department. I don't know. That's just a speculation.
I don't know. It seems like you got to kind of focus your fire there, Laura. You're
oh, really? They're facts. What are those facts? What are those facts?
What I will say is, I would observe two things. One, I agree with you. I agree with our discussion there. I would prefer if President Obama and all previous presidents kind of let it go, let the battles be fought not by the old administration, let the new administration, even if you think they're making mistakes, I don't think it's right for the president to be the one out leading personal attacks. You saw with the Bush administration, George Bush, he went to the ranch. Dick Cheney took a totally different approach. He was very critical by name, going after administration. And I favor the Bush approach. I wish Obama were not being as critical as he is. That said, I don't think that it's an exaggeration when the president says there are more people being indicted and there have been more scandals under the Trump administration than there were under the Obama administration.
I understand what you're saying. Technically, that is true. However, what he's intending all of us to take away from that we had this ethical group. They were only in there to do good stuff. Well, I
was trying to do good stuff.
I'm not saying you weren't. See, we love you. We love you.
I started from the spot that I agree with you. Yeah. I don't think that the president should be the former president should be saying that about the current president.
Yeah. VDH, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say I don't think that's quite correct because the verdict's not out. Eric Holder was the first district attorney general to be held in contempt of Congress. Lois Lerner pled the Fifth Amendment. And we don't know what's going to happen with the Obama FBI, CIA, NSC, and DOJ officials because the verdict's not out on Bruce Orr. 8 to 10 FBI officials have already been retired or reassigned or may be facing indictment. The saga of James Comey and John Brennan, James Clapper is not over because we're looking at a situation where a presidential candidate hired a foreign national to find dirt on her opponent, and that dossier was seeded among top officials of the Obama administration. We haven't had an accounting, ethical, or legal yet, and it's coming.
And we didn't even have a chance to put that in our graphic, Victor, so you actually win the Graphics Award tonight. Thank you so much, guys. Great segment. And coming up, what else did Obama get wrong? Well, historian Craig Shirley is here to tell us. Plus, can targets of the Mueller probe sue the special counsel or his team? And could the Mueller team even be sanctioned? Joe DeGeneva, Dan Bongino, and Goodstein take that up ahead. Former President Obama didn't just attempt to remake his own past, but also the success America enjoyed in the aftermath of the Cold War. Watch.
The Washington consensus, whatever you want to call it, got a little too comfortable with, they're looking at GDP numbers and they're looking at, the internet, and everything's looking pretty great. And particularly after the Cold War, Jim, after what you guys engineered, you had this period of great smugness on the part of America and American elites, thinking, we got this all figured out.
Joining me now, Reagan historian and author of Rendezvous with Destiny, Craig Shirley. Craig, you were particularly struck by former President Obama's historical illiteracy. Please explain.
Well, Laura, I can't understand why he wouldn't be smug about the winning of the Cold War. And we, in fact, won the Cold War. We didn't end the Cold War. But we freed millions of people formerly in prison behind the Iron Curtain. We tore down an evil empire. Ronald Reagan literally changed the world, and previous presidents, is that we should have been smug. I think one of the great failings when the wall finally fell and Gorbachev resigned of the George H.W. Bush administration is he never went on national television to explain to the American people why the anti-communist policies of Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John Kennedy, and every president going forward, and why the policies of why 55,000 boys didn't die in vain in Vietnam, why our vigil, our long twilight struggle against Soviet communism was important. It was a great struggle. Yes,
yeah, we'll
and it was one of the great. Yes, exactly, and we should have been smug. We won. The good guys won, and the bad guys lost. We should have been smug.
No, you're smug today when you pass Obamacare, and then the website doesn't launch.
Well,
that's something to be really smug about. Craig, I got to play something else for you because I got to play something else for you because we don't have a ton of time. Identity politics was discussed at length last night, and this need for civility, like. We had civility during Obama, or in the recent past, and now we have no civility, apparently because of Fox News, talk radio, and a few conservative websites. But this is what he said about identity politics and where it all began. Let's watch.
When I hear people say they don't like identity politics, they don't like... I think it's important to remember that identity politics doesn't just apply when it's black people or gay people or women.
No.
The folks who really originated identity politics were the folks who said, three-fifths clause and all that stuff. That was identity politics. Jim Crow was identity politics. That's where it started.
Thoughts there?
Well, he's just lost without his teleprompter, isn't he? Is that he talked about Jim Crow in the context of the American Revolution, is that Jim Crow was 100 years later, and without the framework that was created, the brilliance of the framers in Philadelphia in 1787, he never would have been elected president. We never would have had the chance to pass the 13th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution. So is that to attack the framers and founders as being admired in identity politics, the American Revolution was about escaping the identity politics of the British Empire, where British subjects had rights and American subjects had no rights. I can't think of any better example of identity politics than that.
Well, so he went to pretty good schools, right, Craig? I mean, he's incredibly well educated, and.
Well, did he crack a book?
Well, I mean, everyone complains. I'm saying all the things they complain about Trump. Well, he doesn't read enough history. He doesn't. All the things the elites oh, he's narcissistic. He's thin-skinned. He's obsessed with his own. I mean, first of all, what person who runs for president, except for Reagan maybe, doesn't have an outsized ego? They all do. But for all the things they criticize Trump for, watching Obama last night, I mean, he's kind of a cool cat. He has a really cool approach. But come on, he's so mad about Trump's success. He is so enraged that things have gone really well in the economy. So he has to say, I did it. I find that to be, that's just not that mature for someone who fancies himself this mature, kind of elite, well-educated individual.
Yeah, he said something curious, too. He said, well, nobody was indicted. Of course, you just went through a whole litany of the scandals that were attendant to the Obama 8 years in office. One thing he overlooked was the criminal use of the IRS to shut down the hundreds of Tea Party groups around the country.
Learner, yes, but I didn't mention it. You're right. Give me a break.
But he said nobody was indicted. He says that's like saying, well, I should go on Mount Rushmore because I didn't rob banks. I mean, that's not really, something to really boast about, is to say, well, nobody was indicted.
Hey,
Craig,
you're not supposed to be indicted. Has the Nobel Committee ever been the same since President Obama won the Nobel Prize? I mean, that's still, we just let that go. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, but you go back to Japan occupation by Douglas MacArthur. He deserved the Nobel Prize for that, and he never got it.
All right, Craig, thanks so much. And President Trump sending clear messages to Mueller's special counsel team today. In a wide-ranging interview with the New York Post, he addressed the targeting of Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, and Jerome Corsi, saying, we're in a McCarthy era. That was a bad situation for the country, but this is where we are. With regard to Manafort, his message to Mueller was a little more direct, saying of a pardon the following: I wouldn't take it off the table. Why would I take it off the table? Here to discuss, former U.S. Attorney Joe DeGenova, former Clinton advisor and attorney Richard Goodstein, and host of the Dan Bongino podcast and author of Spygate, Dan Bongino. DeGenova, the president talking pardon with Manafort, a little premature for that?
Yes, of course. And it's just the president is tweaking and trolling people and trying to get a rise out of people. That's what he does. It's part of his shtick. But the thing to me that's fascinating is all of a sudden the entire investigation by Mueller is focusing on people who are lying. That's what it's always been about. But now it's really about lying with Stone and Corsi and Flynn and everybody. Why is that happening? The answer is very simple. The original purpose of the investigation was Russian collusion. That's failed miserably. There's no evidence of it. So what is he doing now? He's charging people with lying so that he can say in his report, I would have proved collusion, but all these people lied and prevented me from doing it. This is the new narrative of Mueller. He's not, of course, mouthing it, but his actions prove conclusively that his new narrative is, if these people hadn't lied to me, I would have been able to prove collusion. This is the new Russian collusion theme now. This is what he's going to do. That's going to be what the report's going to be about.
But Dan Bongino, this is what... This happened on CNN today. This was Jeffrey Toobin about where this is all headed.
We are now in the realm of possible impeachable offenses, and that is much more a political question than a legal question. However, that shouldn't distract us from the fact that this is egregiously inappropriate behavior on the part of the president. It is all but an encouragement to tell to Paul Manafort to stop cooperating, to take your punishment. I will take care of you later.
Dan.
Yeah, well, Toobin's an embarrassment. The fact that this guy's a legal analyst, really, he should get a refund from his law school. I'm not sure if he's aware of the separation of powers, but the presidential pardon is a constitutional power, Laura. I'm not sure if Toobin's aware of that, if he learned that in law school. But the reason that was implemented was so the executive branch would have some check over what were perceived gross abuses of our system. The president can do that. Now, having said that, Joe's right. Joe just nailed it, although I'm sure Richard will try to make the case otherwise. There's no predicate crime here, Laura. There is zero evidence of collusion, no less conspiracy to collude or any kind of a crime at all. And if Mueller was really doing his job, which he's not, he'd be investigating the real Russian collusion, which there's actual evidence of, which is collusion between the Hillary team and Russians. There's real evidence of that, by the way, which we can document.
Well, Richard, it came up tonight that they're upset about Manafort's Ukrainian business dealings, which I guess go back some years, involving a lot of different people, including one Russian oligarch that is so mad that he's suing Manafort, I think for $10 million, that he thinks we got ripped off. But how did we get here? I mean, where is all this thought of Russian collusion? We're talking about Russian meddling, and it was all being coordinated, one would think, out of Trump headquarters, and now we're this poor old Jerome Corsi. I mean, this is where it is.
Right. Can we just talk about this McCarthyism charge just for a second? I actually
so
don't
you don't want to address
No, I'll get back to this. Just one second. I don't think Donald Trump knows what McCarthyism is. McCarthyism was when you were making charges without evidence. And all Mueller's doing is having evidence to back up charges. He wouldn't be getting all these convictions and pleas and indictments if he wasn't able to take his evidence to a grand jury or petty jury. And I think he's talking about browbeating. That's what he seems to be complaining about. Okay. And I don't remember either of you complaining when Ken Starr basically set up Monica Lewinsky, got her in a room, had her crying, wouldn't let her, see a lawyer. Somehow I don't remember Starr's kind of sympathizers complaining about that, what Donald Trump's complaining about.
I think that is a fair point. Right. And I have actually addressed that as someone who's had some time to think about this. And I think prosecutors exist to get convictions. I mean, there are some good prosecutors out there. But all I'm saying is, let's step back a minute and see where this started, how it started, and whether we're seeing from some maybe well-intentioned people some really egregious abuses of prosecutorial authority.
Here's the predicate that I would say there's two questions that Mueller needs to answer. The WikiLeaks, again, stolen stuff that Donald Trump trumpeted 115 times on the campaign trail. WikiLeaks Podesta emails dropped within an hour. Within an hour, it's computer. It actually is computer privacy.
President Trump talking about it, obviously.
Well,
Richard,
he's using ill-gotten gains. They dropped those emails within an hour after Access Hollywood. Was there an American involved, or did the Russians do that on their own? And all these
so
bots,
you're spinning a theory. We get it.
Well, I'm just saying. And there are all these bots that communicated these messages like Pizzagate to all these swing voters. Is that something where there was an American involved or not?
We're 2 years into this. We're 2 years into this almost. Well, and they got nothing except an old 72-year-old guy.
Of all these Russians.
Okay, you got all these indictments of all the Russians.
Look, this is all about failure. This investigation is a complete failure. The purpose was to investigate a conspiracy between the Trump campaign or the president and the Russians. There is absolutely no evidence of that in any of the cases that he has brought. That is why he is now focusing on these side characters to accuse them of lying or perjury, because his narrative is going to be, I couldn't prove collusion because they wouldn't let me. This is where we are. This is the pathetic state of Mueller's handling of this.
But could
this
anyone
is an
be
embarrassment.
sanctioned? We've got 30 seconds. Can anyone be sanctioned in the Justice Department for how this has gone down, or in Mueller's team?
Well, this requires a federal grand jury to investigate the conduct.
Where's our Attorney General?
We need one right now.
And let's see what the report says, please. We're speculating wildly about something we don't really know what we're talking about.
I know what it's going to say.
Okay.
They wouldn't let me do my job.
All right, guys. I want another hour with this whole panel. You guys are so great. It's time for a palate cleanser. It's time for our Seen and Unseen segment, where we explore the big cultural stories of the day. Canceled sitcom, The First Lady's Christmas Trees, and a demonic children's clothing line. From a famous singer, no doubt. Joining us now with all the details, Raymond Arroyo, Fox News contributor, New York Times bestselling author of the Will Wilder series, beautiful covers. Raymond illustrated them himself.
No, I didn't.
No, didn't I approve any of those covers?
Yes, well,
I did.
You helped shape.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Raymond, let's begin with Candace Bergen's much-touted Murphy Brown return, and
it's been canceled.
Oh,
now, remember, I want to start. It was canceled because the ratings started really low. Roseanne premiered with 18 million people tuning in. This thing barely broke 6 million.
Blue hairs are not what we want to see on TV.
What did we say when this premiered? Watch. This was a strident, even reviewers called it strident, heavy-handed, not character-driven at all.
No, can I just say that? Here's 2 words.
Okay.
Not funny.
Only 7.4 million people tuned into this premiere. Candace Bergen is using a very wooden Murphy Brown to communicate her politics, and I don't think the audience is going to accept this.
No. Come up with a new idea.
Well, they haven't accepted it. It has been canceled, as we prophesied. Now, the problem here, Laura, is it went so political. It wasn't about the characters. It was about the politics. This is a recent episode all about ICE and migrants. Watch.
Oh, no.
We received a call from a neighbor here about a taco truck. Ran the plates. Seems the truck belongs to a Carlos and Maria Gonzalez. Undocumented immigrants, outstanding removal order.
You guys cannot barge in here like this. I know you're used to dealing with people who are scared and vulnerable, but if you don't get out of this truck, I will spatchcock you.
This is so tired. The timing. Charlie McCarthy has more on the ball today than
God
she
bless
does.
Candace Bergen. She's too shot up to get it. It's like
well,
the face isn't
she
moving.
was very candid with Joy Behar the other day about what this whole series was really about. It was all political.
To
from
get
the
Trump.
start. Yeah.
Well, what did she say?
If the election had gone differently, we would not have brought it back. But
So it's because of Trump that it's back?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it is.
So if without Trump, there wouldn't have been a show. Diane English, the creator, says, we're not really canceled.
Yeah.
We always wanted 13 episodes. We may be back. Don't worry. Designing Women and Cagney and Lacey are coming back soon. I don't think they're going to make it either. Let's move on to something really scary.
Okay, tell us this new gender-neutral clothing line.
Yes.
Singer Celine Dion, let them have those things.
Yes.
Is pushing. No one gets that joke except us. But
okay.
What's going on?
This line is called Celine Nunu. I swear to God.
What?
That's it. Celine Nunu. And this is the website. It says, to liberate children from the traditional roles of boy and girl. It's to amplify the discussion about a humanistic education which is gender-free. She rolled out this new fashion line, and it's in conjunction with an Israeli fashion line, with this very bizarre ad. Ooh. She walks into a maternity ward, blows glitter around the room. All the boys are in blue, the girls are in pink. Not after she does her magic. And then in one of the bassinets, this big voodoo doll appears. It's a very strange line. You see it on the right-hand side of your screen? See it?
Ew.
Okay.
Why is that enticing for a clothing line?
Let me show you the bizarre fashions, okay? Mm-hmm. These are gender neutral, but they're very dark. There are skulls in the collection. Why you would put babies in skulls, I don't know. Bones.
Planned Parenthood special.
There's this all-seeing eye that's, a big thing with
is that kind of the Antifa child?
Secret groups.
What was that?
Bizarre. And this group, this Nunu, they have demonic designs with horned hoodies for kids.
I thought it was Halloween
very
costumes. They're
dark.
very good as that.
Look
What's
at this. This is from their Instagram page.
That looks like something out of the Wizard of Oz when the Lollipop Kids. Or
It's really sick.
Lullaby League came up.
Celine Dion and the founders of this brand explained themselves in a CNN interview. Watch this.
We're at Celine Nunu trying to shape the future of all human beings by saying, find your own individuality.
We bring a new order as a concept
into the world.
You know what? You don't know what they're going to become later. And you don't want for them to have psychologiquement a problem of growth and say, I'm supposed to be like that, I'm supposed to say that, I'm supposed to dress like this because I'm a guy, I'm a boy, I'm supposed to do. No, you don't know.
I think that's what people are going to say about this line. Celine, no.
No, this is going to go the way of Murphy Brown, okay? It's all going to be rejected by the customer. I don't even understand this.
Unless you're a member of the Addams family or a satanic cult, why would you dress your infant in this wear?
But they admitted, but they admitted what their goals are.
A new order.
They want a new order. They want to affect the culture, change the way people...
Help. Her heart may go on. Her sales are going to go the way of the Titanic.
Now, who are the Helping Hands organizations, Raymond, do you think? Oh, this is a tease. Okay.
Yeah, you're moving on.
I'm moving on
to
from
the next segment. Wait a minute. I want her to put an insignia. You know, Izod has the crocodile. I want the sinking ship from Titanic because that's where this line is headed. Now I've got it.
Okay.
Now you can go on to your next segment.
Mic drop.
Melania Trump and her response to the Christmas decoration gate. Yeah. We're doing that on Fox Nation. So watch for that.
Oh, Fox Nation. Have we already done that?
We're out of time. Go.
Okay, we're out of time. Who are the Helping Hands? That are organizing and funding these migrant caravans that are wreaking havoc at our southern border. We have an Ingraham Angle continuing investigation. We'll bring you the latest next. It's time for a palate cleanser. It's time for our Seen and Unseen segment, where we explore the big cultural stories of the day. Canceled sitcom, The First Lady's Christmas Trees, and a demonic children's clothing line. From a famous singer, no doubt. Joining us now with all the details, Raymond Arroyo, Fox News contributor, New York Times bestselling author of the Will Wilder series, beautiful covers. Raymond illustrated them himself.
No, I didn't.
No, didn't I approve any of those covers?
Yes, well,
I did.
you helped shape.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Raymond, let's begin with Candace Bergen's much-touted Murphy Brown return,
and it's been canceled.
Oh,
now, remember, I want to start. It was canceled because the ratings started really low. Roseanne premiered with 18 million people tuning in. This thing barely broke 6 million.
Blue hairs are not what we want to see on TV.
What did we say when this premiered? Watch. This was a strident, even reviewers called it strident, heavy-handed, not character-driven at all.
Now, can I just say something? Here's 2 words.
Okay.
Not funny.
Only 7.4 million people tuned into this premiere. Candace Bergen is using a very wooden Murphy Brown to communicate her politics, and I don't think the audience is going to accept this.
No. Come up with a new idea.
Well, they haven't accepted it. It has been canceled, as we prophesied. Now, the problem here, Laura, is it went so political. It wasn't about the characters. It was about the politics. This is a recent episode all about ICE and migrants. Watch.
Oh, no.
We received a call from a neighbor here about a taco truck. Ran the plates. Seems the truck belongs to a Carlos and Maria Gonzalez. Undocumented immigrants, outstanding removal order.
You guys cannot barge in here like this. I know